Welcome back, everybody. We're excited to bring you season 2. We know you've all been waiting patiently. As the official podcast of the AYF West, the Hashito Talks team is here to create content about Armenian subjects that will make us fall in love with what it means to be Armenian. Hashito Talks is always growing and changing, so we hope you enjoy season 2. And now, to our first episode of season 2, Armenian Food in the 21st Century with Ara Zada. You are listening to Hashito Talks, the official podcast of the AYF West. I'm Haig Minasyan.
And I'm Hado Bird.
And we're just a couple of Armenians
talking in the world.
A couple of Armenians talking in the world.
So Ara, welcome to the show.
Thank
very
you.
happy to have you here.
Thank you.
I'm very happy to be talking about Armenian food today. Especially as a diasporan, it tends to be one of those first things that non-Armenians will bring up, right? Like, I love Armenian food, and you're like, oh, what food do you know? And they'll mention like kebab, they'll mention hummus, and you're like, these are Armenian, but they're, they
not
cross
so
over.
much. Yeah, it's not so much Armenian. It is Armenian, but
there's
so
crossovers,
much, yeah,
right?
There's so much more to it.
And so, I try to explain it, and it's kind of hard to explain what Armenian food is. So I was very happy to see Lavash, the cookbook, come out a few years back in 2019, correct?
Yes.
I mean, especially as like people living in the diaspora, we want to be able to like continue those traditions, and it's kind of hard for us. So first of all, thank you for making that accessible to us, you know?
I mean, super pumped, super happy to do it. We set out to make this book and kind of show the world what Armenian cuisine was about. So.
Yeah. No, and it's also just very aesthetically well done, easy to digest. No pun intended. I had to make that joke.
Yes.
But yeah. So why did you call it Lavash?
So the story goes, when we sought out to make the book, we came up with several different titles, and we wanted to name it, Armenia the Cookbook, and we knew that was gonna take 35 years to write, and it was going to be 10,000 pages. It was just going to be too much. We wanted something that the general public would get attached to. One of the first ideas was bones, broth, and barbecue, and just the 3 Bs, just trying to get more like the American public is what we were going after. And we kind of settled down on Lavash because it's the center of every Armenian table. It is, UNESCO,
intangible heritage thing.
That's what it is.
And I will say it is one of those things that whenever my non-Armenian friends do mention, oh, Lavash, I'll be like, that is one of those things that is very Armenian.
Exactly. I mean, we wrap our babies in it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's.
I used to say like, you don't need forks or plates. Like, you can use Lavash for literally every utensil that you need to make to eat.
It's the plate. It's what you use as a utensil. It's everything. So we figured we'll call it Lavash, and we'll wrap the book in Lavash. So that's why you see the Lavash kind of wrapping the book. It's holding everything together.
And you decided this before you went to Armenia? Or?
This was decided before we went to Armenia. Yeah.
Yes, you had an idea already before going.
We did. A lot of it was kind of put into place before we went into Armenia and did our big tour. So.
And correct me if I'm wrong. I remember hearing at one point that Lavash, the word Lav meaning good, Ash coming from this old Armenian word for food. Is that correct? I mean, do you know?
I've never actually heard that.
Because Josh, the word Josh has Ash in it, and I remember someone saying that there's like a root word there for good food.
That actually would make sense. I've never actually heard that, and it sounds amazing.
Yeah, and I'm down.
I mean, that's amazing.
We'll say it's true.
Yeah,
so.
for sure.
But so just in case, because we just started talking about lavash, and let's say someone doesn't know what lavash is, we did kind of explain that it's kind of like a flatbread.
Yes.
Could you tell us, what it is? How do you make it? The basics, right?
So super biased opinion, but lavash is the best bread on the planet.
Oh yeah.
It is actually very versatile. It's extremely flat. It's probably the lowest in carbs. It's one of the best, lowest in calories, lowest in carbs bread. Mm-hmm. So it's a flat bread that's traditionally cooked inside of a tonir, and a tonir is like an in-ground oven. You can make it's simple ingredients. It's just wheat, flour, and the highly debatable yeast. So and we get to the making of that.
Yeah, I was actually curious if like they have a different sort of wheat out there alone. I guess the yeast might be part of it.
So oddly enough, when we set out to go there, we were looking for some sort of wholesome milling and graining the grain milling that they were going to be doing, and most bakeries just use what's Bahramian flour, which is just AP flour. You know, it's just an all-purpose flour. And the secret to lavash is, one of them is the tonir that they slap into. But another one is what they do is they use, it's basically old dough, right?
Oh.
So, and what they do is they take a piece from every batch of lavash that they make, and they put it into the other batch.
Isn't that a yeast thing? Like keeping the yeast alive? They do that with beer too, right?
Exactly. And that's what they do. And that's how you get that slight leavening. You know, that's how you get that it's slightly sour, but not, it's almost kind of like a sourdough method, but it's not. And in the way they start it, and this is, we've gone on a tour around the nation, and some people just stand up and they get really upset when you say you put yeast in it. Some people are just really angry about it. Some people understand it, but you start the process with a little bit of yeast or natural yeast, but you need to kind of kickstart it in a way. Yeah. And you're using a very, very, very small amount, and it starts the leavening process in this old dough. And then you put that little batch of old dough into your big batch of dough. And then forever, you never have to make that old dough again. You just take a piece. And then now you're making a batch of dough, and then you're just putting that little old dough inside of it.
Did you find this more as a regional thing, like in different, like top to bottom Armenia? Or?
So that happens everywhere.
Yeah.
So it happens everywhere. They basically take the dough and they continually use it, and you'll see all the bakeries. And when I say bakery, it's not our bakery that we know around here. It's
mom and pop kitchen or whatever.
If that, it looks like a garage that's open usually with a hole in the ground, and then there's 4 ladies, and it almost is like a baseball team, the way they work together. Like one lady's rolling it out, the other one throws it like a piece of pie. Other person, the other girl whips it around like this, and then she slaps it on the pillow. That person slaps it in. There's a hook lady. It's kind of crazy.
Imagine if it all came from one original yeast lavash.
Thousands
of years ago. It just continued.
Yeah.
Well, do you think that might be part of the difficulty of maybe bringing that, like the authentic lavash here, because of like the transfer of that original or those yeasts from there to here? Is that possible?
So, obviously the lavash in Armenia is the best.
Yeah.
A lot of it, I think, has to do with you being in the environment as well. But there's something to be said about the natural microbiomes and the yeast that's in the air. That's why sourdough bread from San Francisco tastes the best. The yeast out there is better. If you take the yeast from like San Francisco or from Armenia and you bring it to LA, it becomes LA yeast.
Interesting.
It conforms. So that flavor changes. You can still get good lavash out here, you know.
So going into that, crazy important question. If someone to buy lavash here in LA, what would be the closest resemblance or the best one in your opinion?
What's your go-to brand even?
So this is a tough one because, you can go to markets like, Super King or Valley Produce, you know what I mean, or Victory Produce, and see a bunch of different brands. I particularly, there's a couple that are my go-to. I like Victory Produce, or Victory Bakery, right? And I also like what's it called, Goris lavash. So it kind of has like a kind of crazy kid that looks on top of it. And then also for like a thin lavash, Aras makes a good thin lavash. So that's like and they come in these little square kind of packs, and it's like quick, easy to roll up for the kids.
Right, good to know.
Yeah, but I look for, honestly, I grab the lavash and I look for whatever the softest.
Is there a spot in LA that makes it fresh? Is there a tonir spot here? I don't
know. No,
I haven't really seen it. You'd think you'd maybe see it in like a window in Glendale, but I haven't seen it.
I would hope that like somebody kind of does it, but we have a lot of restrictions about like fires and stuff. That's why barbecue is kind of...
This is a hazard. There's a big hole with fire in it.
Tonir also that they use is extremely difficult to make, right? It's like a bunch of clay.
Yes, that's like something. Months. That's something I've been wanting to do and mess around with at the house.
Make one in your backyard.
Make one in the backyard.
So I actually have one, but not one that you could make lavash with.
Okay.
So I use it purely to make barbecue. What we do is like we hang it.
The hanging one.
Yeah.
I know what you're talking about.
So, but it's still closed up, like completely. It's in the ground. But the clay rock that I use, the fire rock that I use, I can't slab.
So it's because it's bricked, right?
Yeah, it's
bricked. So there's a guy in Hayastan on the way back from Gyumri, and he makes tonirs, and he ships them all over the world, and he makes them out of the clay. And like, if I tell you the price, it's blow your mind. He makes them for like $200.
No way.
And it's going to
Shipping's
cost you
like-
more to
yeah.
ship it, but it's a full size, and we have a blog post about it on our website. So, and he full on makes them and ships them all over, and all you need to do is dig a hole and put it in. And we went to him, and I still want to get one from him, but I kind of want to challenge myself to make one and see what happens.
I wonder if there's any coding restrictions, but it's okay. We won't.
Yeah.
The state's not listening to High Tube Talks, not just yet. So.
Yeah.
So in the beginning, like I was mentioning, it's trying to explain what Armenian food is, and in general, cultural things tend to be hard to like nationalize because it's just so mixed in with everything around us, the environment, like you were saying too. But if someone asks you, non-Armenian, let's say, what is Armenian food? Like, what's your 1 minute pitch, whatever?
So I like to distinguish Armenian food from like Western Armenian food from Armenian food in Hayastan.
Yeah, I did want to talk about that too.
So when I say Armenian food, you present it to somebody from LA, and you're gonna give them the khorovads and the meats and the abundance of food and it's more of an event,
Right.
and that's what shows. In Hayastan, it's that same thing, but they eat a lot more greens and grains than we do out here. So here, where it's just like, pork khorovads and beef khorovads and lamb, and it just goes crazy, they eat a lot more pork in Armenia than they do beef. And that's a misconception out here.
My family ate a lot of lamb, and when I went out there, pork was what their lamb was.
Yeah, because here's the thing: there is a lot of beef, but not like we have out here. There is a lot of lamb because we're natural, sheep herders, but that's kind of like you're eating what you're making your money off of.
It's the madaq usually.
Exactly.
Like
so that's it. It has to be a celebratory thing, so you can kind of go and do the madaq like on the street with the lamb, but it's not something that's very common daily. So more common is the grains and the greens, gurgut in the harissa and things like that.
Okay, but I'm glad you mentioned the Eastern Western Armenian thing, because I tended. And we kind of see it when we're in Yerevan, and there's Syrian Armenian restaurants, right? And then there's non-Syrian,
which is
Armenian.
very new. It's new, a lot newer.
It's very cool. I mean, it was nice, and I think it's even like having an effect on the local cuisine as well, right? Like,
100%.
Which is very cool to see that.
One of the biggest things it's done is service out in Armenia.
Right.
So the service aspect. I first went to Armenia very recently. My first trip, it's been a while now, but my first trip out there was in 2015, and in 2015. I kind of fell in love with it, and since then I was going back almost every 6 months.
And you're seeing it change so much within every 6 months.
Every 6 months, it changed completely. And then when the Syrian influence came in, I mean, up until most recently, like back in the day, you used to go to a restaurant and like you'd sit down, and somebody would show up, and he'd be like, "Artsakh," and you're like, he'd be like, "Say it," and you're like, "What? Say what?" Like, aren't you? I don't understand. Now there's service. There's like a service aspect.
I've had an experience where we were like, "Can we sit at that table?" They're like, "No." I was
Yeah.
like, what do you mean? I was
Yeah,
like,
what are you
"Please."
talking about?
Please.
And that thing you were saying about just the influence and how much is changing in Gyumri specifically.
Oh, yeah.
I was shocked because I've been going to Iceland a long time, and since I've been like 10, it is completely different, and the food is like top notch. I think
Gyumri is amazing, and it's one of my favorite places out there. And a lot of my favorite recipes have come from Gyumri, and we found a lot of really, really cool and different things because they have some of the influence that comes from Georgia. So, I mean, the book, what we did was we circled completely around Hayastan. And I mean, I literally drove a car around it, and we packed it in. It was me and 2 co-authors and my friend and a translator, and we drove literally village to village.
Kind of the way to do it though if you're traveling.
Yeah.
Did you get a chance to go to Cherkezi Zor? It's a very good restaurant in Gyumri, but it's fish. That's what they specialize in.
That's the one that it's like 3 levels, and then there's
there's like a little river. And,
so there's the marinated trout recipe that comes that's
it's
in the
probably
book. From there.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of really cool dishes out in Gyumri. The city, the town, everything about it is amazing up there.
So again, we tangent.
Yeah, that
It's not a
happens.
word. No, yeah, I love it. No, the Western or Eastern Armenian. Let's say, how would we describe maybe the difference there?
So Western Armenians eat a lot more spices, a lot more heavy meat, and it's an abundance of food with influence from almost every kind of culture that the diaspora spread out to.
that too.
So you'll have hummus at a table, but there's no hummus in Armenia.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's things like that. There's a lot more spices like sumakh is being used and things like that where you're getting influence. In Hayastan, things are a little bit more simple to where you're getting meat, but not as much meat as you are an abundance of greens and the lavash and different kinds of vegetable preparations. And it's the table is still flooded with things, but it's not heavily spiced. And a lot of people that I've talked to had, when they said they first went to Armenia, they were like, the food isn't very good. And it's not that it's not good, it's just different than what we know as Armenians out here.
Yeah.
And I mean, besides the meat preparation, because in Hayastan, it's kind of like they're like, the fresher the meat, the better it is. But that's not the truth. You actually need meat to kind of age.
Yeah.
So you can't just kill something and eat it. And like for beef, especially, and lamb, it becomes tough.
Yeah.
But besides that, they use 3 spices out there. It's salt and pepper and thyme.
Time.
That's it.
Well, I was gonna ask you what would be a quintessential like Armenian spice rack, like those 3. Let's
So
say.
it would have to be salt, garmi biber, so red pepper, and then thyme, urts. Urts is everything, and then also they use savory. So summer savory is a very common spice out there, but they call it urts as well. So we had a hard time kind of picking out what, because we'd go everywhere and they'd be like, this is sarerun urts, and this is lererun urts, and this is zovin urts, and this is, it's all urts, but it's all something different.
Yeah.
So
Do you feel the urts? I'm just curious about this. Do you feel the urts in Hayastan is a lot different than buying like thyme here?
sure, there's different varieties of thyme. So, but in Armenia, like I said, they call everything urts. So
Yeah.
wild thyme and regular thyme is the same thing. They call savory thyme. They call different things. They just call it all thyme. So we did have a whole like herb identification process where we would take things apart and kind of smell them. And Kate and I would be like, I think this is savory. I don't know what this is. Like, I'm not sure. I think we kind of went through and we have like these aha moments. But I mean, an Armenian spice rack, an Eastern Armenian or Hayastan Armenian, we'd be like salt, red pepper, thyme, and savory, and you have all the flavors you need because you're highlighting kind of the ingredients more.
So, whether it's from your influence in Hayastan, growing up, or even right now, what would be the essential things you would want to put down on a like Armenian base table for like breakfast, lunch, and dinner?
Yeah.
What are the things you need to see?
So that's a good question. Breakfast wise, Basturman eggs or sujuchan eggs, huge. The pomidorov zavadzel.
I love that.
Right?
Essential.
That's something I learned out there, or I eat out there, and I love that. I love that meal.
I mean, it's tomatoes and eggs and its finest, right?
It's so simple, but it completely eluded me.
Yeah. And I mean, those are 2 keys. They have to be at the Armenian breakfast. I'm kind of partial to khachapuri, but it's not Armenian, but it's everywhere in Armenia.
Yeah.
So ajaragan khachapuri.
I love that.
Yeah, you can't beat that. But it's not necessarily Armenian. Oddly enough, like growing up, I thought that was an Armenian dish, along with a bunch of other things that I was like blown away. And I was like, wait a minute, this isn't Armenian?
I didn't know that until I went to Georgia and I saw a place called like Khachapuri King.
Yeah.
And there was like blasted all over them. I'm like, oh shit.
Lunch wise, it's gotta be, it's a mix up of, I mean, lunch, I don't do like specific lunches. So it's a mix of like dinner stuff as well. It's gonna be khorovats for lunch as well.
What would be lunch in Armenia though? I'm trying to think right now.
In my experience, it's always something like, because they're gonna put a full table anyways.
Yeah.
So if it's something quick like lunch, it's like a burum, a quick sandwich, quick like lavash,
like a lavash
patatas.
wrap, or like you're gonna find lehmejun and stuff like that, but that's like fast food.
Yeah.
There is shawarma, but that's not really Armenian. It's just, it's kind of like a khorovats wrap that you would have with lavash. You know what I mean? And that's a quick on the go, more or less.
Do you think they do just late breakfasts, and so like lunch is like kind of?
I think that's it. It's, I mean, there isn't really like a lunch hour or lunch time. It's just like we're just gonna do breakfast or we're gonna do dinner type of thing.
And we'll have a coffee in between, and maybe we'll throw in like something with the coffee.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
Yeah, and it's the same. It's kind of the abundance. Same for dinner. I mean, you're gonna have your khorovats. You're gonna have there's different fish dishes. Like if you're by Sevan, you're gonna have the ishkhan. But it's standard. If for an Armenian table, you just gotta have an abundance of food.
Yeah.
That is true. The table
basically
has to be
it.
covered.
The table has to be covered. There shouldn't be any room to move your cup and put it down somewhere else.
There has to
have
be
it.
food left over when the meal is done.
If there isn't food left over, somebody messed up.
Yeah, you didn't make good food.
Yeah.
And there's a person, telling you, no, you got to eat it. Definitely, you got to eat it. Nope, you can't back out of this. You got to eat it.
You have to be forced until you're laying down.
So maybe we can get at is the Armenian food is the experience of eating food with
Oh,
Armenians.
100. It is. It is. And I think when I invite people to our table, one of the biggest takeaways they have is like, wow, you guys you're so much.
Mm-hmm.
And it's what we do. We, as an Armenian, if you finish the food, like I said, somebody did something wrong.
Yeah.
Like and you didn't make enough because somebody's just being polite. You know what I mean? Or it's just something wrong.
I can't say how many times I've heard someone say like, "Oh, you made so much food," It's like a compliment, though.
Yeah.
You know,
That's the compliment. You have to say that too, because then it's like you're patting everybody on the like, wow, yes, I did. I did do a lot.
It's not good if the guest is leaving hungry.
Exactly.
That's like it's a no.
Exactly.
And then for dinner, let's say, like, what's a Armenian dinner? What would you see as an Armenian dinner?
Armenian dinner, it's like, if I say chorovads again,
Classic.
it's
right,
classic. When you sit at an Armenian dinner table, you're gonna order chorovads. It's gonna be on the table. So you're also gonna have like the vegetable chorovads, salad. You're gonna have 2 to 3 different salad spreads. The Armenian summer salad, one of my favorites, always goes down.
the classic.
Depending on the time of the year, it's also very seasonal. So, I mean, this Armenian summer salad is summer salad because it only happens in summer out there. Here we get cucumbers and tomatoes all year long.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So in the winter time, you're going to have more of a heavy kind of porridge. You're going to have
Pickled things.
a lot of pickles because everything it needs to cure needs to last through the winter. You're going to have harissa, or gurgut, depending on where you are, rolling through. So it really changes through season.
Sense.
But as a classic Armenian table, you need bread. You need a ton of greens, bread, some chorovads, 2 or 3 different salads, and then maybe a few little kind of appetizer things depending on the region.
But like pickles and cheese, you think?
Pickles, cheese, for sure.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It basically half the meal is you picking up pieces of lavash with some greens, kharan gananchi, and with some cheese and throwing it down.
My favorite.
That's another thing I didn't talk about is everywhere in Hayastan, it's kharan gananchi. And for those of you who don't know what that is, it's basically a bouquet of mixed greens. And when I say mixed greens, it's thyme, parsley, dill, cilantro, savory. And I mean, it could be anything at that moment. And they sell it like bouquets of flowers at every grocery store. And the way they use it is literally you just grab it, you take it home, you cut it in half, flip it around and chop it up and put it on everything.
Yeah, I've noticed it on the plate before, but I couldn't tell if it was. Now I'm realizing it's probably a mix of.
It's
them.
a mix.
I thought it was one, maybe.
It's everything.
vegetable.
It's everything mixed together. It's tarragon is a huge one, is what tarhum that has to be there. So a little tarhum, a little lori cheese, a little lavash, and then everything else comes next.
Next is the arak and the ori, or like the little bit of booze that you gotta add. The homemade stuff, the homemade juices that they have too.
The kompot.
Kompot, yeah.
Kompot has to be there. A lot of ori. You know what I mean? The homemade ori will get you.
The perfect chaser to the ori.
Yeah, exactly.
Probably shouldn't chase, but still.
Exactly.
No, and I mean, I feel like that kompot is like a kid's dream juice. It's so sweet. Yeah.
It truly is like what a juice is supposed to be.
Yeah.
It's basically water with that fruit, added some sugar, and cook it down.
So when you were in Armenia, did you guys, because Armenia is, in a lot of places become a very rural area.
Yeah.
So did you end up finding yourself just being at somebody's house?
Oh, yeah.
And trying like their stuff?
So one of the best parts about Armenia is the hospitality. And I mean, we went around the country talking about how hospitable Armenians are. And it's something that you would never imagine it being in another country, being any type of person. Like here, we're hospitable. But over there, you could be any walk of life. And they will invite you straight into their house. They will feed you. They will make you sleep there.
They'll do your laundry for you.
They'll do everything. And then, I mean, we walked into some cules. They don't have any money. It's like they don't eat. And then all of a sudden you show up and it's tablecloths are set out. Sit down. You're staying for dinner. You're staying the night.
Yeah.
So we're gonna have breakfast in the morning. And it's insane. I mean, we were driving to Artsakh And we saw some young kids. When I say young kids, they were probably like
Teenagers or something.
20,
yeah,
21,
older, yeah.
22, and they're having a picnic on the top of a mountain. And as we're kind of driving, and I was like, this is kind of, we wouldn't picnic, you know what I mean, 4 guys.
Yeah.
And we stop, and I was like, 4 young guys like this aren't going to look at like a bunch of people and invite them over. They waved us over. They're like, what are you guys doing here?
Join us.
Have this badar. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Some chicken, some lavash. What are you guys doing? Here, take a shot. Now we're hanging out on the middle of the road randomly. And then they're like, where are you guys going? We said, we're going to Artsakh. They're like, first, you guys come with us down to our town and we're going to have lunch. We're like, what's this?
Yeah. Pre-lunch.
It's just something you don't see, especially from 4 young guys hanging out.
You'll even get like the old Armenian men, like 5 old men that look kind of scary, big bellies, like I've been through some stuff, but then they'll turn out to be the most hospitable, nicest people, trying to speak, like communicate when they can't really communicate with you. And it's the funniest thing.
Yeah.
So many people have stories like that.
It happens time and time again.
Well, so I did want to, you're mentioning going through these regions, can you describe some of the differences you saw region to region? You don't have to go through all of them, but something interesting.
So, as you go further south, through Goris, let's say that's like way south, right? And Goris is famous for their beans. The Goris beans everybody talks about. We went to a lady's house and she served us and showed us, and some of the recipes made the book, beans like 7 different ways. So, I mean, there was a Goris bean pate. We did Goris bean triangles, which blew our minds. Fantastic dish. It basically looks like a bureg or a samosa, but it has lava. You take like fried beans, basically, like a refried bean, and then mashed up. You put it in and you roll it like those old paper footballs you used to play with. And they fry it in some oil. Fantastic.
That sounds amazing.
It's incredible.
It sounds like a vegetarian's dream.
It's incredible. It's a great dish. We make it for our kids all the time.
Awesome.
And so it's a little more vegetable heavy down there. As we went up, obviously you go through Sevan, you got your fish right? influence, the Ishkhan, and they have literally crawfish kebabs and things like that you don't see. When you go up north to Gyumri, Gyumri's mix of food is crazy. There is everything from ketle, which is the whole cow head.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? To we marinated trout, which is more, it's like a ceviche out of trout, and it's just, the gamut is crazy. But one of my favorite and craziest dishes from the book was the trip to Gyumri. I was told about a dish called banar khash. And banar khash, we all know khash, or if you don't know, it's one of my favorite cow foot soups.
Okay, good to know.
Right?
We love khash too.
Yeah. So that's like the tradition, every part of it, amazing.
Yeah.
Banar khash, you're like, oh, okay, this is what can it be? Just cow foot soup with cheese in it.
Cheese khash.
It just doesn't make sense. Somebody told me it's water and lavash and cheese in a dish, and I was like, that sounds horrible.
Yeah. Well, how does that work?
That sounds disgusting. Yeah. What are you talking about? And we basically traveled up there, and you take it was on my list because I have to see this. Somebody's telling me about it. It's weird and doesn't sound good. It turned out to be one of my favorite recipes. You basically cut up lavash into little squares. You layer it with different cheeses, so different cheese layers going all the way up. So you lavash cheese, lavash cheese, lavash cheese. Then you caramelize some onions and butter and you put it on top. Then you pour water over the top of it and you bake it. And what happens is, in the oven, the water melts in with the cheese and turns into a cheese sauce, and you have, boom, Armenian mac and cheese.
Jesus Christ. I started thinking about French onion soup, though, for a second, right?
Yeah.
Like, I started thinking about this bread and cheese thing melting on top of the soup, but then you said they pour the water on top
Water
of it.
on top. So basically, when it comes out, we make it all the time. It's turned into one of those things because it can come together very fast. This is something grandmas would cook for their kids because, they didn't have money.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? What do you have? Some cheese, some bread. I'm going to make something. When we told them we wanted it to make it for us, they were like, no. They didn't want to make it.
Yeah, this is like...
Yeah, this is like peasant food is what they thought. You know what I mean? Let's make you something. They make chanakh or something crazy.
Yeah.
So it's just turned out now we we watch football games and stuff, and then someone would be like Banner Khash, and then we just go and make Banner Khash. It comes together fast.
I love that. And that's what I'm hoping with your book, man. Like we all start doing stuff like that, just from the village, bringing those. Dude, the peasant food in every culture ended up becoming the best food of that culture.
I mean, look
tacos,
now,
burritos, you know.
Look at coco van. Coco van is like a famous, fancy French dish now. It's rooster in wine because that was peasant food. Roosters were tough. You know what I mean?
Dude, the snails,
escargot.
They were so hungry they were eating the,
It's most peasant food is the most delicious food because it's finding new creative ways
to get creative
to make things awesome.
Yeah, I think Khash is like that too. Khash is definitely.
Yeah, I mean it's amazing though.
It is, but it's that last of the bone,
That's
like
it.
And with whatever. I mean, you love Khash.
Yeah,
and,
so I was gonna say I also looked at the pictures you had in the book, and I full heart as a Khash utoch, like a guy who's lifelong Khash utoch.
Yeah,
that is a Khash table.
I love
that is
it.
everything that you need on
love
there. I didn't see tan. Maybe you could add the tan. That's like up for preference. But everything else, the tutu, the boch, the alcohol, the lavash, everything was there.
So we do it, and we do Khash a lot, and we invite a lot of people to our Khash table, and it's everybody, even the people that can't get behind having a big foot in your soup. Love it, and they love the experience. They love the sequence of toasts, and it's being together cold in the morning and eating something that's like cultural heritage to the max.
Yeah.
And also it's amazing and very, very good for you. So we kind of, if you get injured or something, we just do Khash in a mug.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
It's the collagen inside of it. I mean, I have a crazy story about a friend. When he was young, he broke his collarbone, and his mom gave him Khash every day. And when he went to the doctor for his first checkup, the doctor said, I've never seen this. He goes, your bone's fully healed already.
No way.
He said, it's never happened. So that amount of collagen pumped into you, it's nothing but good.
That makes a lot of sense. I've never broken a bone in my life, and I Khash, like I'm telling you, a few times every year,
Oh yeah, we do it now this season. So I do it. I have a pot that is extremely large. And when I say extremely, this is a commercial. Like it's like 3 feet, and it barely fits under the hood of the house or in the kitchen. So it goes to the top, and we make it probably holds like 30 gallons.
Oh wow.
And so we make a lot of Khash, and then we freeze it, and then basically you just bust it out, and then it's the process of making it isn't that long, but it does take a while.
But it's worth it.
It's 100%.
I think that's what makes it like great too, is that long process.
Have they told you about like the supposed super real way of eating Khash, where you're supposed to like put as much lavash as you can, and you're supposed to eat it with your hands and everything?
So the Anthony Bourdain episode, by the way, where he's like,
So the super traditional way of doing it is crushing up enough lavash inside of it so it turns into a porridge, and you eat it with your hands with more lavash. I'm not a big fan of that way. It becomes so filling. I like to eat it like a soup. So I do crush some lavash in there, but I like to eat like a soup. And like the saying goes, like your bowl is always the best bowl because you're making it yourself. So you're like, my bowl is the best. My bowl is the best. It's all, you're seasoning it at the So that's like the beauty of it.
It's supposed to also be a great hangover cure.
That's the idea.
I've never drank before. But so did any of these meals you had out there remind you of anything like from your childhood or from home, like from what your family was making, as an Armenian, right? Like any connection there?
Dolma, definitely. Yeah. Dolma was definitely something that I grew up with.
They do have the cabbage dolma out there, which is a little different.
Yeah, so the pasus dolma doesn't have meat in it. And there's a lot more beans that they use out there than I did growing up. But we ate a lot of the grape leaf dolma. That's what we call dolma, or the summer dolma, which is the stuffed dolma. But it's everything is dolma out there.
Yeah.
So that I would say is probably the closest to what I grew up with. Right. Like when the first time I went there, I was blown away. I was like, I don't know any of this food.
Yeah.
This is crazy. I was like, none of this is. I mean, we went to like one of the Syrian influenced restaurants, and then they had chikefte, and I was like, yeah, this is my shit.
I know this. Yeah. So because your family's from Egypt, right? Egyptian Armenian.
Yeah.
So you grew up with the Western Armenian.
So yeah, that's that was my go-to as a kid.
Do you remember the first Armenian meal you could ever remember?
It was chikefte.
Chikefte.
I mean, when I was a little kid, I used to walk around calling people chikeftes. I was like, hey, you're a chikefte. You're a chikefte. That was my favorite thing to eat. It's still one of my most favorite things.
I was going to ask if it's your favorite Armenian dish. It's one of the favorite, huh?
So One of my favorite, yes. I would say
It's got the sentimental value.
it definitely has sentimental value. It's definitely, it hits close to home. I mean, my mom's chikifte is the best chikifte.
Of course.
You know what I mean?
I agree.
So it's something that I grew up with. Armenian dish, favorite Armenian dish would probably be lavash wrapped trout.
Yeah,
I would say.
It's in the book.
Interesting.
This meal, is it in the book?
It is in the book,
yeah.
and that was one that kind of took us by storm. And it is very, very easy to make. It's basically you take a trout, you put a little butter inside with tarragon, and you roll it in lavash like a burrito, and you bake it, and then it comes out after 15 minutes. It comes out this beautiful steamed fish inside with crusty, flaky lavash on the outside.
So then did you try the one at Zukizor and Gyumri? Was that the one where you were like blown away?
Yeah. So that's basically where in Sevan, and then it goes up and moves around. Like, I mean, a lot of those regions make lavash wrapped trout, and it's a staple, but it's not something we know about here.
I didn't know about it till I think I saw Anthony Bourdain eat it with Serge Tankian or something, and I thought that was maybe just a restaurant thing, like they were being fancy with Armenian ingredients. Yeah, and it looks like it's like actually a thing they do.
It's a big thing, and I didn't know it until I kind of toured around, and it's so easy to make, and it's so delicious. It's kind of crazy.
I love fish. I love lavash. I love sandwiches.
So what would be your favorite meal when you were in Armenia?
Or like the favorite meal experience you had. Maybe.
Yeah, because that goes into it too. You know, the best vibe you got with it.
This is the best.
Yeah.
Top of Mount Aragats. Khash.
Yeah.
Right by the lake. It's easily the greatest experience. You take the drive. It's the second tallest mountain in Armenia. I guess maybe the first now. But
right, I know what you mean.
You know what I'm saying?
Did you climb the mountain at all afterwards?
I didn't. I kind of strolled around. It's kind of hard after a khash meal to move a lot. So, but
and it's always cold up there, by the way. It can
I'm
be the
so
summer.
happy you said that too, because I've been there, and this amazing experience to be up there. And they give you a little piece of gum afterwards. It's like the topping of everything.
I'll tell you, if nobody knows what we're talking about, basically you drive up this mountain road. It's like almost like a 1-lane road for about an hour and change, and you go up to, it looks like there's nothing forever, and you kind of hit this tiny little lake. And when I say lake, it's more like a pond.
Yeah, it almost looks a man-made kind of.
Yeah, and it looks like there's 2 houses up there, which look like they're unoccupied, but
they could be abandoned. Yeah, but they're not.
And then there's like a power line, and then there's this restaurant that for sure they're not going to be open, and it just seems like something wrong is going to happen. And you walk in, and they have the best khash ever, and you can eat it if the weather's right. And I've been up there when it's been like very windy, but you can eat it outside as well. And what they do is they serve the khash on these beautiful ceramic bowls, and then underneath the bowl there's another bowl that holds coal, and the coal keeps the khash hot while you're having your khash party. It's fantastic.
Yeah,
and the vibe in that whole like building is just
God.
Amazing. Like strangers with each other are just vibing,
toasting, and having the time of your life, and it's incredible. And usually you go up there with a taxi guy. That's what we did, and you invite the taxi guy to your dinner or lunch or breakfast. Actually, was Khash. So
he's gonna be there. He's
gonna be there.
Yeah.
It's not even like a strange thing. It's just totally normal. You're like, aren't you coming in?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, to eat with us.
You know, in Armenia, you do become friends with the driver.
Oh yeah,
tour guide,
and then now he's your driver for the rest of the trip.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
he's drinking with you too.
Oh, of course.
Exactly.
Yeah. After the first bottle, they're like, "Are you gonna drive?" He's like, "Yeah. That's why I'm stopping at 1."
Yeah. This is whatever. Well, there's a whole thing with seatbelts out there where they, what, you don't trust my driving or something? It's like, no. I don't trust your driving.
Exactly.
But well, I did want to take it back. So like, you grew up with maybe Western Armenian food back at home, and like, did you study a little bit more about like your the education? Let's say like your early career. Like, were you always in culinary? Did you know you were gonna end up doing something like this?
So growing up, I was always in the kitchen, and my experience in the kitchen was strictly, this might sound weird, was just to play with knives.
Yeah, no, that's normal.
And I was a little kid. I thought I wanted to be Peter Pan and flip knives.
And I get that.
And that's my mom said the only way you're going in the kitchen is if you're actually going to cook something. So and I started cooking and chopping up salads and stuff like that. It's just to kind of be in the kitchen. And I kind of went into the family business, which was printing.
Okay.
And then I found that, I was going to work and then coming home, and then like everybody's just so wound up. And what I was doing to kind of like decompress was cooking.
Make some cool dinners for
I was just
family.
making dinner. And then I was like, you know what? I'm just going to go to culinary school.
I kind of like this.
Yeah.
Kind of good at it.
I was like, I want to just do this instead of, be everyone yelling at each other all the time in a family business. You know what I
I
mean?
need to get away from the family. For
Yeah,
a
it's
little bit.
everyone. You wake up together, you go to work, and then you come home. You're still talking about work, and it's like, okay, I need to just get out a little bit.
Yeah, I can see that going crazy, but it's
Yeah.
also.
So I mean, I was trained in French, traditional French cuisine. I went to Le Cordon Bleu, and in that kind of stemmed into everything else. I mean, I grew up, born and raised in LA, so my flavor profile is very Mexican and Japanese influence.
Right.
Like a normal LA person.
Well, now it's Korean, by the way.
In Korean, the Korean influence.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the Armenian food is always there. It's always been near and dear to my heart, but I've always kind of left that up to my mom to make for me,
Right.
my mom, my grandma. And it wasn't until I went on this adventure that it just became, our focus.
Yeah, tell us the inception story. Like, what, where you sat down and you were like, we're going to do this,
So, what happened is I went to Armenia, and the first time was just kind of like just to be a tourist.
2015. Right?
2015.
That's the 100th. That was the 100th.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was the anniversary. Yeah.
The genocide. Yeah.
It was the 100th anniversary, and we went up there for the. I'm a bad Armenian now, but I forgot what it's called when they do the christening.
The grapes.
No, they bless the oil every 7 years.
The Holy Moran.
Yes.
Yeah, but I don't know what the festival's
okay.
called.
So
I'm
they
bad Armenian
it
too.
was
We're doing good. Don't
Yeah,
worry.
we're all right. We're all right.
We're trying our best.
So and then when I came back, I was like, man, the food I didn't understand, and I got partnered up with by the president or director of Tumo, Mary Lou Papazian.
Yeah.
She wanted me to meet up with John, who she had invited as a food photographer.
Okay.
So John had an idea of writing a book. And when he did his food photography out there, his food photography demo or his class, he came back and he spoke with Kate, who is already a cookbook author, and said, hey, there's, I want to write a book. And I think there's a book about Armenian cuisine. And Kate was kind of like, yeah. And it just so happens that Kate's neighbor was Armenian. She's Irish American. And it just so happened that she wrote her college thesis on American Armenian.
She did?
Yeah, she did.
What are the chances?
Yeah. So it's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
And so they kind of had this idea brewing. And then when Mary Lou introduced John to me, he's like, look, you might be the missing piece
Dots are
to this
things
puzzle.
are connecting. Yeah.
We needed somebody that was Armenian, and you're a chef, and you know what I mean? Like, maybe we can work together. Would you like to work on this project? And I was all in. I was like, this is incredible. I'd already gone to Armenia. I taught cooking classes in Armenia. And I was like, hey, there's a book here to show the world, what Armenian cuisine was. So, I mean, I'd hate to say that it was my idea. It wasn't my idea originally.
Oh, yeah, shout out to John.
John was the one who was like, hey, I want to do a book. He kind of put this puzzle together, and it worked. It worked for all of us. We sought out to write a cookbook to show the general public what Armenia is about and Armenian cuisine is about. And it wasn't just to write a cookbook itself. We wanted to show photography. We wanted to show the country. We wanted to show the world that there is a country called Armenia.
Yeah.
And we shopped around to every publisher for this thing. And Chronicle gave us an opportunity, and I mean, we jumped on it.
Well. And shout out to Kate as well.
Yes.
So was someone the photographer, and then one of them helped with writing? Like
so
effort?
we worked as kind of like this dream team. John is an amazing food photographer.
Okay, John's
and
photographer.
and
I could tell.
He's Sean. I mean, he's incredible. Like we'll go around places, and like we saw things, and he'll pull out his phone and he'll take a picture, and I'll stand right behind him and take a picture, and I'm like, why does yours look so good? Like, I just want to be where you are. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, that was something. He's just incredible. And Kate is an amazing writer, and Kate is also she's worked in kitchens several times, so she's a chef as well. And I am a chef and a recipe developer.
Right.
And
So the trio came together.
It all works. So Kate and I would write recipes, and then John would do the pictures, and we kind of all pieced together, and we did our tour together, and it was just it was a team.
That sounds so fun.
Yeah.
What a fun project, yo.
Yeah, it was amazing. It was amazing, and it's. I mean, we still. I mean, I'm going up to San Francisco this weekend, you know, to still shoot more videos. So we still work together.
That's awesome.
So.
Oh, this one is pretty relevant to you guys right now, actually. So you're having guests over.
Mm-hmm.
You know, let's say they're important people, not like. How about this?
Not me or Harut.
Mm-hmm.
Not me. Yeah, not me. Him. Let's say your kid is getting married. Your in-laws are coming for the first time.
Sick.
What are you preparing for them? What is from beginning to end? What is the meal?
Okay, we're gonna go Armenian.
Yeah.
Okay, it has to be Armenian.
Right,
Okay?
you gotta impress them.
Yeah, it's gotta be Armenian.
Yeah.
So appetizer, we'll probably throw down like a charcuterie board. We can get to my charcuterie action after, but charcuterie board, basturma, sujuk, some lori cheese, a little jingle of hots, kind of on the board, set it up nice, right? Appetizer, nice set. Dinner would probably be summer salad with a chorovad salad as well. With the lavash wrapped trout, because it's incredible, because we're coursing this thing out, right? It's gonna be plated fancy dancy, right?
Yeah, exactly,
Okay.
yeah.
Your child is getting married.
He's
and
not.
You need to impress.
I'm already sold. by the way.
She's definitely not. They're not.
They're not allowed to get married.
No, that's it.
But hypothetical.
That's it.
How about dessert?
So dessert, we're gonna go with Goris baklava. So that is a different baklava than what
There are beans in
everybody
there?
knows. So, no, there's no beans in this one, but it's a bean pate with sugar. No.
Imagine, yeah.
So Goris baklava is a little different. It's not that heavily layered, with phyllo dough. It's not like that at all. So there is walnuts in there. The dough is only like about 3 or 4 layers. You can make it at home, and then you use it's like a meringue, but it's not. It's whipped egg whites. So it rises, and that recipe is in the book, and you can make it at home.
So it's a little bit more creamier.
It's served a little bit more like a square butt egg would. You know what I mean? Okay. And then you serve that with some Armenian coffee, and that's it. Gold. We're in.
All right. Seems like your daughter,
Now we're marrying
they're
them
getting
off.
Married,
They're all getting married.
Congratulations. But so okay, we've mentioned meals and like dishes that you like, but I did want to ask: is there something that you particularly aren't so crazy about in terms of Armenian dishes? If you had to pick one, I'm sure they're all
so. Nobody yell at me, but I don't like harissa.
Harissa, huh?
Harissa and gurgut. I'm not a big porridge guy. You know what I mean? It's not that it's bad. It's just that I don't particularly like it. I'm not gonna, if somebody serves it to me, I'm not gonna
Yeah,
eat it.
of course. And it could be done really well by someone,
Yeah,
but
it could be great. I mean, it is, I understand it and I get it. I just I'm not a big porridge kind of person.
did your mom ever make it when you were growing up?
Never.
Yeah,
No.
I don't think my mom ever made it either. But by the way, they make harissa in Pakistan as well, and it's actually one of those things that we share with them randomly that they somehow adopted from Armenian. I don't know, but
Well, we were through the Silk Road, so the Silk Road went right through Armenia, so it kind of ties in.
I think harissa was one of those again peasant food. It was like
100%. I mean, you're just beating wheat.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? It's just you're beating it, and then you're putting some chicken in there.
Yeah, I think the story goes for the Musaletis. They ate it 40 days straight, you know?
Oh, right, when they were surviving.
Yeah, they were like stranded, and so they had very few ingredients. So it was literally lamb and, you know.
Yeah. You know what? There's also another, I don't know if you guys heard of echmiadzin köfte or gavari köfte.
I've probably seen it on the menu.
So it's not, if the gavari köfte way is better, I think, than the echmiadzin köfte. Basically, it's meat that's beat up so much. What they used to use is a rock, and this is basically a rock that they used to take meat and beat, right, until it turned into mush, and then you beat it and beat it and beat it until it turns basically into a paste, and then you whip it with some herbs and vodka.
Oh, nice.
And then it turns fluffy. It kind of aerates. So it's kind of like, I don't know. Have you ever had like a meatball in like a pho or like an Asian noodle? You know that spongy?
Yeah, it
kind of
has like
meat? That's what this is.
Interesting.
But if you do it the gavari köfte way or it's echmiadzin, it depends on where you are. Basically, they wrap it in like a little lavash bun and they stuff it with butter. So when you cut into it, it oozes the butter, and then it makes up for it.
Someone asked me that recently, by the way. They were like, do Armenians use olive oil or butter? I was like, I think at least in Armenia, butter is more of a thing.
So there's no olive oil.
Yeah,
It's all sunflower oil out there.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
There's a lot of sunflower. You're right.
Sunflower oil is what they use. If you ask for olive oil, it'll be a very tiny, small section in the grocery
If
stores.
you're Giligya Armenian, that would make more sense. That
Yeah.
there'd be olive oil there if you're Kesapti or something. But no, in Armenia, I was like,
So why is it
heavy
that they
butter.
use sunflower?
It's just readily available.
There's a lot of sunflower.
Yeah, it's readily available. That's the oil that they use for everything. So I mean, salads, cooking, frying, it's all sunflower oil.
That's interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah, or butter.
Yeah, they love their butter.
Yeah.
I'm Gumretsi, you're Gumretsi, right?
Half.
Yeah, I'm a half Gumretsi as well. But I asked my grandma, I was like, have you heard of Banderkha? She said she doesn't remember,
Really?
But they're also old generation Gumretsi. They've been in America for like since before the genocide.
Got
so that's
you,
a
yeah.
little old. But I mean, I grew up eating borscht though, and like
Yeah.
the brioshkas, like the Russian things, and I was like, I didn't understand, but you probably noticed some of that there as well.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there's a huge influence that comes around from everywhere.
I was gonna ask actually, like, what are some influences you noticed in Armenian cuisine? Let's say in Armenia.
So one thing that's everywhere is salata vinaigrette. So, and we did put it in the book. And here's the thing. The book wasn't, hey, this is Armenian food. This is from Armenia. We created this. This
Yeah.
was a timepiece. It was, this is what they're making in Armenia now and have been making for several years.
This is what the experience was.
This is what it is.
Yeah.
And it was basically flying through. So we are not staking claim to everything. So there's dishes in there that aren't necessarily originated from Armenia, but everywhere you go in Armenia, somebody knows about it.
Yeah.
Type of thing. You can get it served there.
No, I always tell people like it's like a not worth the fight of trying to create these borders around
Yeah.
music and food and a lot of these things.
Exactly.
You're at one point you're gonna see that there is a little bit of an influence from here to there.
Of
and
course.
it's really it comes down to regional and what like the geography has and what foods are from
Yeah.
that area.
So salata vinaigrette is one of the ones. So it's a salad that it has beans, pickles, and a bunch of different beets in it, and the stuff you wouldn't actually know for it to be too good, but it's an incredible salad and you can have it anywhere. So all through Armenia you can order that.
Salata vinaigrette.
Yeah.
Is this a Russian? Would you
It's
say
a Russian.
like
100% it's a Russian. And when you put pickles and beets in anything, it's Russian.
Yeah, it's true. And then throw some herring in there. And,
Herring, that's it.
Yeah. And
I actually had a very personal, very interesting question. Why can't Armenia figure out how to make hamburgers
Jeez.
or pizza, or what's the situation here where it's
Certain
like
Armenians are doing okay, but they're getting there.
it's
Yeah.
like they've never had it before, but somebody
Yeah.
described to them what the ingredients are.
Oh my God, there's
and that's it.
so many things like that in Armenia. I mean, I had nachos once, and I was like, I don't know how you messed this up. I'm really confused. I think what it is with hamburgers is everybody thinks they're making lula kebab.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean?
It just tastes like that.
So kofta, like, yeah, that's what we're just making kofta, and you're putting a bun on it, and you're like, no, you can't season it like that. It's different. There are places that do a better job. Pizza wise, it has to be the cheese. The cheese is different, so they're not really using mozzarella. They're just like slapping some lori on there,
Yeah.
and it's so salty that it just the experience is different. So there are a lot. I mean, I was challenged last two times ago when I was there. My buddy was like, man, I just really want some tacos. And I was like, I can do this. I can do this
You're
here.
gonna make it? Hell yeah.
I can do this. And I was like, we're going to have a hard time finding tortillas. We went to the sauce and we did find like one pack of tortillas, but they only had one.
Yeah.
And it was like $10. And I was like, $10 in Armenia will feed a family. Like,
Yeah.
I was like, you know what? We're not going to buy the one pack. We're going to do this with Lavash. And I made awesome pastor tacos and it worked because look, hey, they have the season, they have the spices,
Yeah.
You just need somebody that knows which ones to grab.
Yeah, exactly. And someone who's tried it before. Yeah.
Well, actually, by the way, Al Pastor has a Middle Eastern
It's
influence.
Lebanese.
Yeah, it comes
Yeah.
from Lebanon.
It's the Lebanese people that migrated to Mexico.
You just go to a shawarma place, grab the meat from there,
That's
make
it.
a taco out of it.
Straight up, dude. The tacos de Arabi is what they used to call it.
Yeah, by the way, there is one or two Mexican restaurants now in Yerevan that are pretty good. But
There are, what the food game in Yerevan has
getting
been
there.
getting
It's getting there,
a
yeah.
lot better. I mean, look, when I first went out there, I'm a sushi fanatic, and when I first went out there was a sushi bar, and I was like, yeah, sushi.
No.
And it wasn't very good, but now there are 6 of them in Yerevan.
Yeah.
And I mean, I had one out there that wasn't too bad. There's a couple Mexican restaurants. There's some burger spots that are opening up.
There's an amazing Thai spot that I love. Wine Republic is very good.
Wine
but
Republic is good. Some things they just aren't getting right. I mean, my buddy took us to a place and he goes, dude, they have really good tacos. And I mean, they put a lot of weird things in this taco.
Yeah.
And it's like they say, you know, if you serve tacos in that metal taco tray,
Yeah.
you're saying, you know it's going to be a bad taco.
Yeah,
And this
they gotta
was
keep it up on
I mean, there was
purpose.
ketchup in this taco. And it was, I mean, I don't know who told them what a taco was, but they
Yeah.
didn't do it.
Well, then you ask for more spicy, then they're like, more spicy.
Yeah.
Are you sure? And I'm like,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
more and it's not spicy.
No.
More spicy,
Yeah,
please.
It's I mean, it's kind of crazy. They don't like, there's some things that I feel like people have, it's like somebody's cousin told them they need to do this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This is what you just need to put like your boots on the ground and then be like, it's easy. The spices are there.
Yeah.
Trial and error. They'll get there. But I mean, speaking of, a lot of people will go to Armenia and it's like almost like a rite of passage that you'll get sick one time, right? Like what I always think about, like, why is it that we get like sick? Is it like the bacteria or something that we're just not used to on like an animal level? You know, what do you think?
So I've heard this a lot, and I've heard people say it, and they're like, "Oh, I just got sick. It was the meat. It was this. It was that." And I have a hard time believing that they really got sick from the meat. A lot of the times it probably is the heavy dairy. So the cheese, every cheese that we eat out here is pasteurized. That means it's blown out of the water with heat, and then, you know, everything is dead inside. The cheese will destroy you more than the meat will. Here's another thing. They cook the meat to death out there. So it's not going to be the meat because, first of all, they just killed it. And second of all, they cooked it for 45 minutes on high heat.
Yeah.
So that's why it's like pretty much chewing on a baseball. But now things are starting to change and people are understanding you need to age the meat. You know what I mean? They're cooking meat medium rare and things are changing in Yerevan and spreading out.
Right.
I don't believe people are getting sick.
Be the water. No,
It's not the water. Oh, no.
it's not
That's
the
just,
water's
we
the
can't
best.
touch the water out there. That's the best water on the planet.
I love
Yeah.
it.
People
I
like
love Bubulugs.
people are like, oh, can I drink the water? I was like, you can drink the water from a river.
Yeah, no,
It's
you
the
can.
greatest pulpulag. You know what I mean? You walk
Literally
by
anywhere.
pulpulag.
By the way, that Aragats, the mountain we were talking about, if you can get high enough up there, there's like the best, most pure, clean water you'll ever have
It's
in your life. Yeah.
there's something about the water out there, and I mean, you go out and just through the villages, and you see a pulpulag, and you're like, I'm in.
Yeah.
You know, and you just bend down, and you drink it, and it's awesome.
I love that we have that out there.
It's so good. It's so good.
All right, Ara, is there any new projects or, you know, things you got going on right now?
I'm curious because like you did this big project that you hadn't done anything like it before, and you know, how is this like now? How did this affect your trajectory? You know.
So, with the book, we did a major tour, and we went around. We had a lot of other things planned through COVID, and COVID struck, and it
Terrible
kind of
timing.
shut everything down. I mean, we had dates in like New York that we were supposed to do, and Toronto, and I mean, I was supposed to do a pop-up at Marcus Samuelson's restaurant out in New York, and so it kind of halted everything, and it kind of moved everything to like social media.
Yeah.
And we started our YouTube channel, and our hopes was to expand more on the YouTube channel to try and get a deal to do like a Lavash part 2, but a video aspect, and basically go to Armenia and show the hospitality of Armenia. And do that through a live video like project. So it would be like a 4 or 5 episode type of deal. And we still have hopes of doing that. And that all kind of slowed down obviously through COVID, and the chefing stuff, it all turned digital. I did start another project though, and basically a lot of the cooking things, everybody shut down, and I started doing art on pieces of wood, so burning wood with electricity.
Oh, I know that. I think I saw it by the way on your page, and it's insane. But I've seen other people do it on like TikTok and stuff. I don't even know where I've seen it, you know. But it's dope.
Basically, what it is, I saw it online a couple years ago, and then I basically was bought. Diana bought me this machine.
The electrifier?
No, she bought me a transformer, and because I was infatuated with it, so I built this machine basically to burn wood, and it charges wood with about 15,000 volts of electricity, and it burns natural, like it looks like lightning into the wood.
But you can't manipulate it at all, or can you?
I can tell it where not to go, but I can't tell it what to do while it's in there. So if every single piece is completely unique. And I started doing it just kind of sitting in the garage, kind of hanging out. Kids were down, and just doing it as art, burning skateboards. And then I ended up making a cheese board, and then it kind of all came together. She was like, "Hey, you got to do this, add it." And we started the company, and we called it Videni Burns.
That's
so obviously Videni means wild. So
I was gonna say, you can't, like, it's almost more beautiful when you just naturally let it do its thing. You can't control it. You can't make it up.
Exactly. And part of the thing is, and this is what kind of drew me to it, was that it's extremely deadly to do. So one shock from it, you'll die instantly.
Oh, no.
So I have several different safety switches where I have to stand far from it and do it. But it's now turned into a full-fledged business. So we're selling cheese boards constantly. We have a Etsy shop set up. We have our Instagram, Videni Burns. We just moved our website. Now I'm doing furniture, tables, chairs. It's gone kind of crazy. So and now I'm kind of split almost 50-50 between woodworking and chefing.
Well, you make the food that you put it on the table.
And that's it. And that's it. It all kind of comes full circle. So like I make the food, and now I'm serving. So when I do my steaks and stuff, we put it on the Videni board. We're doing cheese boards. We put it on the Videni board. And it's turned kind of crazy.
But you take it to the next level. Not only are you making the table and cooking the food, but then you're also hunting the food.
Exactly.
I saw that you're like a big bow and arrow. You're in the woods literally hunting these animals.
That is. So I'm an avid bow hunter. I am a big advocate of field to table. Yeah. So I love knowing exactly where my food came from. So I go out and I shoot mainly archery. I practice daily to archery, cool. And that's what it takes to go out there. You need to be fit. You need to be able to be against this animal in the wild, and you're challenging them in their space. So you need to be able to commit to that. And then also we practice daily because I don't want to wound an animal. I don't want to just leave it to die. You know, the nature is brutal. So we practice to make ethical kills. And then I do everything from there myself. So I butcher it, I clean it, I portion it into steaks, and we feed the family with it. And I get to tell the story, and I know exactly what it ate, and I compare what it ate with its surroundings. So like you get sage from up north, or not sage, you get a deer from up north. You know it ate sage. You put sage into the food as well. It brings it together.
No, I mean I don't know if humanizing is the right word, but you're humanizing the creature, and like you're almost giving it like a level of respect there when you're kind of
sure.
You know what I mean?
We use every part of the animal as well. Like I mean, I've turned femur bones into knives. Nice. You know what I mean? We make stock with all the bones. Nothing goes to waste.
This is how they do it in Hayastan, though. I mean, like there, that's why I always kind of felt okay with, like, when I think about meat industry, or when I think about, there it's, there's not big packing houses. I haven't seen any, big factories with a bunch of cows. It's like it's whatever's in the backyard. We kill it on the spot.
Exactly.
And we don't take it for granted. We eat every part. I mean, I'm sure you saw that out there too.
Of course. I mean, sometimes I get people like commenting on like my Instagram and stuff like that. How can you kill an animal? Oh, in my country we don't do this. I was like, what country are you talking about? Oh, in Armenia I don't do this. Like, are you kidding? Yeah. You buy a lamb on the side of the road and just slit its throat.
It's right there. It's brutal.
And then I mean the lamb, it didn't like live an amazing life. It's been in a pen. You know what I mean? These animals like go out and you got fair chase and they're out there, and it's lived its life, and now you get to enjoy that. We're humans. We eat meat.
If it's not us, it's gonna be the wolves.
It's not, and they're not graceful about it. I'll tell you that.
I mean, I'll say for Armenians, it's not so pretty out there for us either. We got our own wolves out there.
Exactly.
So we got to survive.
100%.
But yeah, if there's anything else, I mean, Ara, this was awesome, man.
Thank you guys so much. This was great. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man, this has been amazing. I hope everybody who's listening goes out there, gets this book, because it really is a lot of great recipes and made right.
That's it.
That's
I like
important too.
Yeah. Thanks again, Ara.
Thank you guys so much. It was great.
You've been listening to Hashito Talks, the official podcast of the AYF West. I'm Haig Minasian.
And I'm Haro Bird.
And we're just a couple of Armenians
eating in the world.
A couple of Armenians talking in the world.